Finally checked in, I see. I hope you're fond of the penthouse. It's pretty much the best seat in the whole hotel. You shouldn't want for any amenity you might find elsewhere. Should act as a better headquarters for the investigation than any space dust covered ship. That and you ain't got room service on a ship. You ever need anything, come find me. Even if you don't, you can still swing by. I'm always happy to chat. Oh, of course. That is, maybe not on a personal level, but I'm one of her biggest fans. Even started an association of like-minded individuals. I'd lament not having anything to meet about anymore, but the newer tribe just ain't done it for us. Still, there goes my hopes of a Terran Monarch reunion episode. Sorry, friend, but I guess you don't get it. Helen was special, had a certain quality about her, like she would really go out and fight injustice. You look at Woolrich, and no disrespect to the man, but you just don't get the same feeling. He reminds me more of a vacuum suit without nobody in it. Don't tell him I said that. Now, what can I lend a hand with? Notice my battle-hardened physique, have you? Used to be in a mighty mean line of work. Been shot at 35 times. That is, I've been near people who were shot at 35 times. But to be honest, I never really enjoyed it, you know? It's one thing to tightrope walk between life and death every day, but for just a handful of bits? Nah. When this position came up, I jumped on it and made a lateral move from sublight to slug. I ain't ever looked back. Well, slug is something like an offshoot of sublight. It ain't too difficult to pivot from one part of the same company to another. Disconnects or no. That said, my departure may have been somewhat hasty. Well, it was, technically. Basically, I singled out a ship to salvage that I thought had been out for use for years. As it turns out, it belonged to a wealthy Byzantine who used it only to vacation. As it so happened, I still don't think she tried to use it, too satisfied with the luxuries of Byzantium. Still, I figured it was a good time to turn tail, in case that ever changed. Stories, huh? Actually, I think I got a couple now that you mention it. Had a basket case visit from Fallbrook once, almost took a swing at me when I tried to take his bag. Turned out to be full of live sprats. We charged him extra. Well, Slug is more trustworthy for one thing, where Sublight is all about back alleys and backstabbing. Slug can be trusted not to salvage your ship when you turn your head. Please do. Sure, I'd taken to checking the barroom every few hours prior to the unveiling. Just to make sure no sprats had snuck into the place. You understand. Found her right before I was set to head back to my room in the lower levels for my mandated 5-hour sleep period. Tell ya, thank the law for caffeinoid. Been too upset to get a wink of sleep since. And hey, now I can finally see smells. What? No! Just because I found the corpse doesn't mean I made her a corpse. I was in shift all day. Besides, I loved Helen serials. Well, the old ones anyway. The newer episodes are hot junk on a warm day. Beats all hell out of me. Maybe she was, practicing for the unveiling? Sure? What's on your mind? Of course I did. I just told you I found the body. Oh, wait. You mean when she was still breathing? No, of course I didn't. Plus, it's untoward for an employee to speculate about the actions of a hotel guest. Not that I saw any hotel guests interacting with her. Honestly, you're more than a little right. I've been burning at the britches to share my theories. Day of her death, I saw Helen leave the hotel premises with the profit of profitability, and didn't see her come back. A little on the suspicious side, I think. Seemed especially strange, seeing how, as far as I was aware, the two didn't get on. Yep. Gives seminars on increasing profit margins and the like. Can't say much else, seeing how I ain't in the gossip market. Or as I can recall, Helen dismissed the lady's seminars in some kind of interview. Said her co-star used them, but she didn't. The top rungers are always ready to read between the lines of famous folks and seem to think the profit was on her way out. Woman lost a ton of bits and is set to lose more. I hope all that helped. I'd like to be as useful as I can in the investigation. I just didn't want to steer anyone the wrong way. Everyone's got theories. I don't reckon mine hold much more weight than anyone else's.
Black Hole Bertie hasn't been seen since Helen's death. Awfully suspicious, right?
Actually,
The Grand Colonial Front Desk warmly welcomes you, Inspector. It's a pleasure to see you again. How may I be of assistance to you, Inspector?
I hope you catch the killer. Sublight Underground appreciates your patronage. Something mighty strange went on earlier.
What happened? Norval get his cap stuck in the toilet again?
get anything good for lunch?
to,
What floor would you like to visit? Oh, what authorized? Oh,
You've returned! Now, what?
Timeline discrepancy detected nearby. This is a bottle of unreleased Rizzo's product. Helen appears to have attempted to use it to spell something as she expired, but all she managed was a sticky bee. This hypothesis is plausible, but requires additional information. Now calculating likelihood of Halcyon Helen using her final moments to endorse Rizzo's Spectrum Brown. Low to moderate likelihood. Correct. Bertie Blackhole Holcomb is a registered guest at the Grand Colonial Hotel. Accessing guest database, B. The Grand Colonial Hotel is proud to serve the following VIPs. Bertie, Black Hole. Burbage 3001. This evidence has been recorded for later reference. Now generating pre-approved compliment. Splendid work, Inspector.
Oh, Inspector, I was hoping I could have a word with you. I wanted to thank you for cooperating with us. Helen's death was never your concern, but you agreed to help us all the same. It is appreciated. I will be plain with you, this case is outside my purview. I'm accustomed to dragging rowdy guests into my office for paperwork and processing. I am not prepared to investigate the murder of a beloved actress. Before you arrived on this case, I had identified two key suspects, Black Hole Bertie Holcomb and Spencer Woolrich. I've since eliminated Woolrich. Mr. Woolrich was Halcyon Helen's professional rival. It's possible jealousy drove him to take Helen out of the picture. I apologize for the wordplay. Conversely, Mr. Bertie Holcomb was Helen's paramour. The relationship was reportedly dissolved. I can't rule out her murder as a crime of passion. Mr. Holcomb was in a romantic relationship with Helen. This alone is not enough to make him a lead suspect, but he does play tossball. Black Hole Bertie currently holds the record for most non-consecutive blows to the head. His tendency toward irrational and violent behavior is well documented. Woolrich thinks of himself as a serious and distinguished actor. He was frequently cast in demeaning roles, while Helen played the charismatic heroine. He has reason to be envious. I considered the possibility that Woolrich killed Helen in order to eliminate a rival and advance his own career. But my reasoning collapsed under closer scrutiny. Woolrich owes his career to Helen's dramas. Her death likely harms his long-term prospects. I'm struggling to determine a motivation for him, so I've largely ruled him out. What's on your mind? I couldn't investigate Helen's death even if I wanted to. My office is occupied with matters concerning Spectrum Brown. This directive is mandated and takes priority over Helen's death. I'm not at liberty to discuss the details, Inspector. Rizzo's prides itself on ironclad confidentiality agreements. You're a persuasive person, Inspector. Addressing me by my first name is an effective way to establish rapport. I'll tell you this much. This directive is part of my indenturement contract. I've been hired to oversee the safe launch of Spectrum Brown. That duty is my highest priority. Not a problem at all. Is there anything else I can do for you? Most people don't know that about me. But yes, Helen's roles have always embodied values that I respect. Courage, curiosity, strength, a sense of style. None of us get to choose the way in which we serve our colony, but Helen? She showed me how to find meaning in my occupation. This is a problem of jurisdiction, not competence. Helen was murdered in a hotel owned by Slug, whereas I represent Rizzo's. I'm also concerned I'd allow my personal feelings to cloud my judgment. I was a great admirer of Helen. Best of luck, Inspector.
The Purpleberry Orchards. And a footprint. Inspector, that was absolutely marvelous. Beautifully deduced. With the help of my discrepancy amplifier, of course. Ah, I was waiting for this. Yes, of course. I'm only too eager to cooperate. My apologies, Inspector. I've not yet finished my autopsy. Come back later? Oh, why, I'm flattered, Inspector. Let me think. I've worked at the Grand Colonial for about as long as it's been around. Prior to that, I lived in Byzantium, but I always felt like it was missing something. And that something turned out to be corpses. Byzantium has much in the way of luxury, but examining the dead does not rank amongst the preferred activities of the elite. Absolutely. Usually I'm just a medical practitioner, so I almost never get to deal with anything as unique, or as quiet, as a corpse. The most interesting thing I saw prior to this was the back of Mr. Woolrich's throat after he blew out his vocal cords shouting at an attendant. If I weren't here, I'd be back in my quarters, rewatching Byzantium in the spring or working on my automatic sprat peeler. Oh, good. One of my favorite subjects. Ask away, my dear. Ask away. I didn't expect an existentialist question so early today. It's a need. Just as sprats feel they must breed, or canids feel they must brutally maul each other, I feel the need to create. Inspector, I'm sure you don't want to spend 4 hours talking back and forth about the intricacies of a science project. It works. That's the important part. Because you're the inspector. I should think that's rather obvious. I'm only too eager to give you my cooperation, Inspector. It's been my dream to see my beloved amplifier put to good use in the field. I invented the discrepancy amplifier to assist me in my own medical work. When you were hired to investigate Helen's death, I realized I had my own part to play. I programmed the amplifier to assist you. I'm entrusting it to your care because I want to see my invention help a brilliant inspector solve the murder of the century. You don't miss a thing, do you, Inspector? I can see why the constable recommended hiring you. Think of the amplifier as my gift to you. May it avail you in the swift and efficient prosecution of justice. I still have the blueprint and several extra prototypes floating around, but I might recommend you try to be careful with it. Some of the amplifier's internal components are rare, shall we say, and I don't have an indefinite supply. You sure you don't want to... Oh, good. You sure you don't want to...
Timeline discrepancy detected nearby. Timeline discrepancy detected nearby. Analysis of this stovetop reveals an alarming degree of grease buildup, approximating proximity to volatile gases and chemicals. Chances of an explosive combustion upon next use currently at 92.9%. Searching slug work logs. No work log found. Creating conjecture. Slug has likely not fixed this issue due to a lack of responsibility on the part of their employees. Most corporations have regular cleaning procedures to prevent damage to company property. Slug, already unlike most corporations in a variety of ways, does not. That or the employees tasked with inspecting are shirking their duties. For shame.
I was a few minutes late with room service earlier today.
Can't imagine what it must be like, living down here like sprats in a wall.
Timeline discrepancy detected nearby.
Their mistake. Wow! Great work!
Inspector, I've detected a structural anomaly within a 0.8 meter radius of this locked door. The structural anomaly is not present in the design of the door. Please direct your attention to this nearby floor panel. This floor panel is 0.3 millimeters shorter than regulation length, suggesting unauthorized modification. timeline discrepancy detected nearby. Analysis confirms this is Evan O'Connell. Analysis also confirms he is dead. Per additional study of this body's skeletal structure, the cause of death was head trauma. Further analysis indicates Evan's fatal injuries were sustained from blunt force trauma to the back of the skull, and his head collided with the ground. Respiratory analysis concludes Evan was not intoxicated at time of death. There are traces of blood on Evan's hands, Inspector. Analysis concludes this blood is human, type A. Medical records indicate Evan O'Connell's blood is type O. It is highly likely the blood is the result of an altercation. If you wish to question Amelia Stillwell, Slug's scheduling records indicate that she is presently on duty at the Pilot House checkpoint.